Hey friends, this is Kate. I'm in my studio and I have been sewing and sewing, but not on camera. Sorry friends. I've been making stuffed animals, and like I mentioned in a previous video, it's not my pattern, so I don't feel like I can really do it on screen. But I am working on some of my own stuffed animal patterns, and then I'm going to bring one of those to you. So hopefully we will soon have that. But I thought I would show you a really quick project using this napkin, okay? If you are like me, you constantly collect vintage linens and you probably have a lot of random napkins. I love this one because it was blanket stitched all along the edge. It has a contrasting little running stitch, and it has a really simple flower made of cross stitching. It's on, I would say, I think it's linen. Just a little linen dinner napkin. And what sparked this project was that I needed a little coin purse. I've got all kinds of random change in my purse, and I was cleaning up my area and I thought I need a place to put my change. So I thought, you know what I'd really like to have is a little bag that can fit in my purse and that I can keep my change in. So I thought, you know what, I want to make a little bag. And I'm always thinking, okay, what can I use these different pieces for? So that's what I am going to do. This is about the most simple project I can think of. So it's perfect no matter what level you may be at in your stitching. So to get started, I'm just going to take a piece of white thread. I could certainly do a contrasting color of some kind, but for this project, I'm just going to do this in white. I'm going to start off by just stitching up the sides of my piece of fabric. So, pretty straightforward. But I want to encourage you to think about the different ways you can use vintage linens creatively in projects for useful stuff that you can use every day. So, that is what we're going to do here. So, how are you? I'll tell you what, the vintage linen journey has taken me into a whole antiquing side of things that I was not expecting. The other day, I had a memory pop up on my social media photos, and it was of my very first embroidery project of recent years. It was like a year ago, guys. I mean, in a year, this has become such a huge part of my life. And I know some of you all are also either new to come back to this, or you're new to it, period. And, you know, so am I. So I've been stitching for a year, and the amount of creativity it has brought in my life is really pretty amazing. And the number of amazing people that I have met digitally all over the world, it's pretty awesome. So thank you for being here. If you don't mind subscribing to the channel, I sure do appreciate it. But, you know, even if you're just here for this one video, I hope that you get something out of it. Okay, so I just stitched up that side. And what I want to do is create a little channel at the top that my drawstring can go through. So I think what I'm going to use is this twine. It's twine that I picked up when I was in London at a thrift shop, but it was made, I forget who it is, but anyway, they make this this fair trade kind of twine, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I bought some while I was there. Now let's see, about how much am I going to need? You remember with a drawstring bag, you need to have like two of them to pull across. So it'll be like that. So let me see how big my channel needs to be. I think I maybe stitched it up too high on this side. Yeah, that's not a big deal. We'll just come in here, and because I knotted it off, I'm going to have to actually make a little, like, pull out that thread and unknot it by clipping it. In fact, that was such a quick thing. I think I'm just gonna, well, let's see. Yeah, we can get part of it. So I'm just going to knot that off part way up. So my adventure continues with antiquing. I have gotten to where I go out to estate sales. And what happened a few months ago when I opened my booth was that I really felt like I needed more little stuff in my booth than just my handmade, fabric journals and my handbags and other stuff that I'm making, because if this stuff takes a while. And so I wanted there to be more inventory in my booth. So I started picking up, in addition to vintage linens, I started getting, other little items when I was at these estate sales. And it's been so much fun. But then I started developing quite an inventory of stuff that I have purchased at said estate sales. And now I need a bigger booth because I realized that I love making things not only out of vintage linens, but so another area I've kind of, developed is I'm making, I will gather a bunch of little teacups and all kinds of stuff like that. And I will plant little succulent gardens in them. And it is so cute. So I've been doing that. Well, now I've got, I don't even know how many. And I have sold a few of them, like several. And I've only had them out for a week or so. So that has been so fun. And I am not kidding you guys. A few little succulents in a teacup. I will show you a picture. So cute. And when I'm at these estate sales, people are often selling all kinds of interesting little bowls and, teacups, saucers, but also pottery bowls and other kinds of things, or just random weird shaped vessels of all sorts. And I've been like, oh, I could put a plant in that. So I have been collecting those. And today I was at another antique store near me that I used to work with on in my magazine. And I stopped by because it's a new owner, and we had a great conversation about all kinds of vintage things and, why shop from secondhand things, the sustainability of it, and all these different ideas for helping people to see that as a viable option for gift giving and things like that, which is something I'm working on. Okay, so I was talking to her, and in the end, I got another booth there. So I still have my little shelves at the first place, which has been great. And those people are, I love working with them, but they just don't have a ton of extra space at this point. So I have way enough inventory for another booth. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm opening booth number 2. It'll be at Franklin Antiques, which is over, if you're local, it is over off of Mobile Highway, very close to the fairgrounds. And my friend Sherry used to own it, and now Tamara owns it, and she has a ton of experience. So I think it's just going to be really cool to be able to market my vintage, linen things, and then also some of these other antiques at both of my booths. So, oh my goodness, you guys. Sometimes you just have a hobby and it decides what it wants to do, and that's okay. All right, now you can see that I stitched that across here. I'm just laying this in to make sure I have enough room, and I do. I don't think I'm going to lay that there while I do it. I'm afraid I would stitch it into my channel, so we'll deal with that in a minute. But I am going to finish stitching this other side. I am absolutely flying by the seat of my pants on this project. I haven't done this before, but that's not totally true. Maybe like 8 months ago, I made a Japanese rice bag as part of one of the cloth tales. Catherine over at her Cloth Tales channel, everyone and their four friends were making Japanese rice bags, I think. It was one of the first things I ever made for someone else, and I loved it. So I have done a drawstring, but not something like this. How long is this taking? Not long, okay? Now, a lot of foundational things, you don't want it to take a super long time because you want to spend your time embroidering and making something extra, right? So if you've got a bunch of dinner napkins laying around, you can totally do this project and it will not take you forever. Okay, so that's stitched up, and now here's what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter that this isn't perfectly matched up because it's going to kind of roll over. I'm going to bring my knot in as close to the top as I can, and I'm just hiding it in the seam that's there. And I think I'll just do one extra little knot on the end in order to secure that. Okay, now I am going to, I think, overstitch this, which just means that I'm going to go from there, or that may be the wrong word, I don't know. But what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do a blanket stitch. I'm just going to stitch along the top here. I want to do it that way. Let me think here, because I really don't want to mess up the blanket stitch because it's so cute. Let's see, best way to do this. Yeah, okay, so I'm actually going to go back and forth because I don't want to mess up that cute blanket stitch. So I'm going to go in just on the side of the blanket stitch, and then I'm going to go in on the other side in between the blanket stitches. You see that? And then I'm going to make sure I'm under. Okay? And then we're just going to keep doing that. So we're going to go, I'm just going to go right under, then I'm going to go here. This should secure. Now I got to make sure I'm making it big enough for my 2 strands. Yeah, that should be enough room because I'm doing this really little twine. I want to be sure throughout as I'm doing this that I am as close to that top blanket stitch as I can make it. All right. Are any of the rest of you people who turn hobbies into additional side gigs? I would really love to hear about it in the comments because I feel like when I meet people like that, I have found my people. That may not be you, and that is just fine. Also, totally welcome. I think my kids think I was going to say that my kids think I'm a little crazy. They don't. They're actually very sweet and supportive of their mother's creative pursuits, as is my husband. He is, it's funny because he is a very organized thinker, but he's also a creative in his own way. He's a pastor and he writes these amazing, weekly messages, and he communicates so well. When I first met him, he was representing off-Broadway shows and jazz musicians in New York City. And he was a PR guy, and but he was really finding a lot of joy leading a Bible study and also working with AIDS hospice folks. So anyway, when I met him, he was doing something really creative, and he still is. And I think that he appreciates that all of us, some more than others, need these creative pursuits. But I am also sort of a serial entrepreneur in that if I am enjoying something, I also enjoy making a business out of it. So, the fact that my antiquing of linens has now led to what will soon be 2 different antique malls, it's not really a surprise. And I've just, I had to kind of think about, is that okay? Like, am I messing up my hobby by trying to make it a business? And I decided no, because, there's a lot of practical reasons for that. I go out, I source all this stuff, I really enjoy finding treasures, and then if I can sell them, that's okay. If that's part of my hobby, so be it. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking about these days is how do I manage my time to, spend some time pursuing this? And honestly, it's partly time that I'm sort of doing where I can do something I'm really enjoying and run around. And, today, for example, I was talking with a lady who lost her mom, and I met her because she was cleaning out her mom's house before an estate sale. And, there's something about being present in those moments when somebody wants to make something of what their mom or grandmother or somebody left behind, where you can come in and say, I value what this person did creatively. Like, that's so cool. And, who of their friends probably wants to sit down and look at their mother's, crochet work? And nobody probably does, or very few people. But I really am interested in what this lady made, or in, the memories that this lady has of her mom and of the pieces that she remembers from her childhood. And being able to sit with somebody and let them share about that, that's cool. And if I can incorporate that into, part of my creative process, then I think that's awesome. So, so much of life is just figuring out what the best use of a particular day is. And sometimes it's sitting here in my little studio. Oh, we had the most fabulous thunderstorm this afternoon. It was so loud. And truth be told, I was more sorting things than just sitting here and creating. But sitting and enjoying a hobby is something great. But the people part of it, where you're out and you're interacting with people and you're hearing their stories, that's pretty awesome too. And I've also met a lot of interesting people like who do the estate sales, and because I keep coming to all their estate sales, so they know me now, and it's like, oh, I get to sometimes in between things talk to them about why they're doing estate sales. And I was talking to one guy last week, and he really got into it because he didn't want everything to end up in a landfill, which I totally respect. It's like, let's rescue some of this stuff so that it doesn't get thrown out, and instead it gets used and enjoyed. And of course, I know that a lot of you are here because of those same motivations. You want things to survive, find new use, or just not be thrown away. It could be some combination of those things. And for me, I'm a storyteller at heart, and I know that these various linens and other things, they have a story, and it's a story worth remembering and worth telling. And it was really cool. The lady that I talked to today, I had purchased some linens from her, quite a bit of stuff, and I think I did a video on it a while back. And she called me because their estate sale was over, and she said, I have one more pillowcase I just want to give you, and I also have some jewelry that I just want to give you, and I don't want to have to deal with it. And I really appreciated that because it's definitely stuff I can use in a variety of ways. And I sat and talked with her, and saw her mom's china closet, and some of the pieces that she has from her, and heard about how they do Christmas and the decorations she loves getting out. They're worthwhile stories because she matters and her mom matters, and these traditions that they have matter. And sometimes all you have to do to honor that is to listen and let someone tell you their story. And I'll tell you, that is a powerful thing in our world, to really care about people and listen to their stories. So, because I work for myself, my schedule is pretty flexible. And I have kind of taken some time where I am fitting in some of my kinds of appointments in between everything else. And if I can clear time to just go and, buy some little thing or pick up something someone wants to give me and sit and listen, that is a very worthwhile use of time. So, thinking about that these days. Okay, I'm liking how this works. So, just running a little channel along the very tippy top. Not so, and the cool thing is because it's already blanket stitched, it has a little bit more, I don't know what the right word is, a little more maybe security. Let's see. Yeah, that's working. I mean, occasionally you can see a little white stitch, but I don't care about that. Let's see. Okay, almost there. So what project are you working on? How many of you are doing a collaborative project of some kind, like Kate and the Nest's pouch, or some of what Create and Craft with Christine is doing, or the Roxy Journal of Stitchery Girls? I'm curious, how many of you are doing a project like that? I was at one point, and then I don't know, sometimes, you just start creating your own projects, and then you run out of time for all the other projects. It's okay though. I think part of why we do the projects is to inspire our creativity. And so, if you then go through a season of having more ideas than time, then that's fine. Do those, as Catherine over at Cloth Tales would say, you do you. I think she's doing the coverlet of comfort this year, which I think is just a wonderful project. I will link to all of these people I'm mentioning below because they are wonderful. They're a lot of the people who inspired me at the very beginning of when I was just starting out a year ago or so with these different projects. And, if you need tutorials, go over to Sarah Humphrey or the Feather Stitch House. There's lots of people out there who do phenomenal tutorials. Actually, Creating Craft with Christine, Christine put together a whole list of some great YouTubers, and you can go in the description on her videos and you can see her list, which is fabulous. And yeah, highly recommend that. But a lot of these folks, they've built these wonderful communities of other stitchers, and you watch the other videos and such. Though I will admit, I have been watching a lot of Antique Road Trip and such because I am a little obsessed, not only with my vintage fabrics, but also with antiques of all kinds. But I think that's just my inner historian coming out. There's something about having actual tactile things that you can touch that are part of history that is just seriously cool. Okay, now there's a few ways that you can run a twine or thread, or I wouldn't use thread for a drawstring, but like a ribbon, whatever you're going to use. Sari silk works really well. There's a few ways that you can do that. One thing I would suggest is starting off by putting a little safety pin. A safety pin or a paper clip might work. I don't know. There's probably a few options. But something at the end, and it's got to be small enough where it's going to fit through that channel. Okay? So I'm going to pin this really close to the end of all of my string. Is everybody in here? This guy is not in here. You need to get all pieces if you're like me and using twine for some crazy reason. Why are you not closing? There we go. Okay. All right. So what you can do is you can start your thing through the channel here. Now you could grab hold of it with tweezers. I have these crazy scissors, but I'm a little apprehensive about putting scissors into my project. I think this is lightweight enough fabric where I'm just going to be able to run this through and kind of gather it. Okay, we're going to attempt this live on YouTube and see if she can do it. Oh, I mean, I know you wanted some adventure. You were hoping for a cliffhanger. Here it is. Can Kate bring her whole drawstring through the channel to the very end? I could have used no, I really couldn't have used a bigger safety pin. But look, it's working really well. If you've got a pretty flexible fabric, you'll be able to do this no problem. Now, why am I doing this at this point? I'm not sure because I'm really not done. But I guess I partly just want to see if it's going to work. It should probably be the finishing touch, but that's all right. There's a couple of ways we can go from here also on the rest of the bag. Oh, so close. Come on. Come on out the end, little friend. And voila, here she is. Boop. All right, that wasn't too bad. Okay, now, I did mean to do it this way. You might be like, did you really want to do it that way? Yeah, I did. Because I want this coin purse to be, she's going to be like that. Okay. This is, as I said, it's seriously like the easiest. Okay. Could I have made it where this was like in the middle or something fancy? Yep. Could have done that, but didn't because I want this to be as simple as possible. So all we have left to do is stitch this and this. Pretty easy, right? Yeah, I think we can all manage this. Now, if I wanted to get fancy, are there other options? Why, of course there are. And, you know, Catherine just did this little project last week where they made a really cool lotus box kind of thing and a fabric bowl. Go over there if you want to check out some other cool projects. But I am making world's easiest ever little drawstring bag, and that's what I'm doing here. Oh, I think I heard more thunder. I live in Florida, and Florida has crazy weather. When I look at the forecast, it just says thunderstorm. Like, for the rest of our lives. Not really, but for days. We have days of thunderstorms ahead. But that doesn't mean it's going to be raining all the time. It means that we're going to have torrential downpours interspersed by it being insanely hot and even sunny. It could be anything. It's all of the above. That is what Florida weather is. It's like, what do you want? You can have all of it in one day. Welcome to Florida. That's how it is. Okay, now I could gather the bottom of the bag a little bit if I wanted to. It's kind of cute. I don't know. We'll see. Or I can just leave it kind of flat. Might do it that way. All right, then I'm just going to stitch this, and I'm going to reinforce the corner by just doing a couple of extra stitches there and even a little knot. And the way I'm knotting it is I'm going through, and then I'm coming back up in that loop, and then just pulling, and it's going to make a little knot right there. Just so that, I don't know, if something happened, the whole thing wouldn't unravel. Because the girl's putting coins in this. Now, does anyone carry coins? I don't know. Why do I have coins? Because not everyone takes Venmo. I'll go to estate sales. Okay, so sometimes it's an estate sale, but it's actually like somebody's yard sale, essentially, and they don't take any kind of electronic payment, which is fine. You tell me, in your part of the world, is it all cash? Is it mostly electronic payment? Okay, so if I'm working with an estate sale company, then they're almost always going to have, they can take your card and that's it. You take a card, or of course, if you want to pay in cash, you can. And I will sometimes bring cash just because sometimes it's easy to go, okay, it's $24. Would you do it for this 20? And they're like, cash? Sure. I'll take that. So, like any haggling, if you have cash, it does make it easier sometimes to pay what you would like. But anyway, one of my buddies the other day, he runs estate sales and his card reader was not working. So I ran out and I got cash. And I think my total was like, I don't know, it was something and 75 cents. So, because of tax. So I ended up with a bunch of change. Okay, moment of truth. My adorable little thing. Is it going to go? Isn't it like magic when your drawstring works? And look how cute it is. Okay, if I wanted to get fancy, I could totally have embroidered this. I could do embroidery on here. I could add extra little doilies and Suffolk puffs and patchwork things, but I don't want to do that. I just want my cute little drawstring that I could put all my random change in. That's what this baby's for. So here I am with my change, which is not all American currency. That is a 50 euro cent. These are my quarters, nickels, dimes, even pennies, which we have not yet gotten rid of and somehow still end up in my life. And here is a euro. So, that's cool. All right, so here you go. Welcome to your new home change. And, will this get dirty? Yeah, probably will. Can I throw it in the wash? I sure could. And then I'm just going to tie off my little bow. It's green. My bag is blue and yellow. I could have gotten more color coordinated, but I wanted to use this twine because it's been sitting here literally forever, and it will remind me of my fun trip to England, which is where I got that. All right, friends, that is your easiest, quickest ever drawstring bag from a vintage napkin. I hope that you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed making it, and I love that my change is now going to be controlled within my purse. I hope that you have a creative day, and thank you so much for joining me. Bye.